Well, what do you know? We got some new Hearthstone cards to talk about. More Escape from Violet Hold cards have been revealed. We got 3 new legendaries today, including this guy got revealed today. Muggsy, new Shaman card. It is the ultimate Boulder Fist Ogre, a 6 mana 6/7 with a start of game effect here. If your deck has no other minions, get Mug's hero power, which you can see up there. And if it has no spells, you get these hero powers. We got kind of a minion guy, kind of a spell guy. So the Mug's hero power, which is the one if you have no minions, which I've written a handy guide here because for some reason I just cannot remember these two in my brain. I have to literally be reading it because they both interact with minions. So it's like, it's hard to distinguish them in my brain. Anyway, I'll remember eventually. Mug's magic though, reads your first minion each turn costs 2 less, which really means this is a 4 mana Boulder Fist Ogre because you can play Muggsy as a 4 mana 6/7 if you want, which honestly not that bad. Like, you know, actually not that bad. That'll happen sometimes, I'm sure. But what that means is if your deck has no other minions, of course, you're going to need ways to generate minions in order to get this discount every single turn. So you're going to need cards that in some way or another add minions to your hand. Now, when you look at cards currently available to add minions to your hand in Shaman, there really aren't many. Blazing Invocation, Mountain Map, these are spells. Of course, minions wouldn't work. You can't have minions that have minions to hands. It's got to be spells. Like technically Ritual of Power, but I mean the elementals aren't exactly the most exciting thing to discount, right? And you'd want the other Herald cards. That doesn't really make sense. So it's like actually pretty slim pickings right now. It's like most of these are just like summon effects. So in neutral, there's also like Shaladrasil adds a couple minions to hand, but that's super expensive. So I don't know if that's going to work either. What that means is you're going to need some support printed in this expansion, future expansions, whatever, for Muggsy to really make a lot of sense because there's just not enough minions for it to be worth it right now. Like just completely murder your deck like that, basically, in order to get this discount. But you know, if they print 4 or 5 cards that work well with this, then I think you're actually kind of cooking because a 2 mana discount's actually really significant, right? Just getting to cheat out bigger stuff. Like I said, Muggsy itself is almost a decent play as a 4 mana 6/7. Like it's pretty, actually I think that's a decent play. That's fair to say. Not a great play, but a decent play. And it, you know, as you're like, okay, that's actually nice. Like there's a lot of minions that become great plays when they have that 2 mana discount, whether that's just getting a really big game changing thing into play early or just, you know, netting a little bit of tempo every turn because of that hero power. And as a passive hero power, it's just this free bonus forever, right? So I think that could definitely light a snowball into some significant victories, assuming again, you have the support you need for this card. So it's like, we just need to see the other 9 Shaman cards, and then Mug's magic could actually be kind of busted. Now, when you look at Z's Might, which this one requires your deck to have no spells, which means you need all minions, this one seems a lot easier to work with because it's like kind of going with its effect, not against it. Like Mug's magic goes against it. But every 5th minion you play triggers its battle cry twice. And of course, what that means is any strong-looking battle cry card in Shaman becomes really interesting with this effect. We've seen some of these doubling or even tripling battle cry effects in Shaman in the past. Always some of my favorite cards to play with, and it's a long list of useful battle cries. Basically, you know, whether that's just the Herald stuff is already actually kind of cool. I mean, some of the Herald you want spells, but you know, if you're getting double battle cries on stuff like your Skywall, your Ultraxian, etc., like, hey, maybe it's worth it. I mean, Imbue actually becomes kind of nuts, right? Both the neutrals and otherwise. The Living Garden, really cool. Envoy of the End, really cool. There's just all kinds of effects that become quite interesting when you're talking about Z's Might. So, oh my god, Kragwa is kind of funny. You don't have any spells, but you generate spells, you get some 6 spells. Alakir actually is absolutely insane too. So maybe you could make a Herald package work. It's weird how it just shows a Deathwing hero card there. I think that's, or it's supposed to be the hero card, but it's just like a portrait instead. Something buggy there. So, you know, a lot of good options basically here for this hero power. And I don't think it's that big of a sacrifice to build your deck with 30 minions. I'm someone who, when I'm building decks, often like I like running a lot of minions anyway, probably more than I should, and it still usually works okay, right? And if your deck's got this huge boost out of it, I think that's gonna be worth it. So I think Z's Might has like a higher floor. In other words, like not as difficult to perhaps build into and still a pretty reasonably good payoff, but maybe not as crazy of a high ceiling as Mug's Magic. Although doubling battle cries can be nuts. It's every 5th one, right? So it takes a while to cycle through that. Like, sure, 4 cheap dudes and 1 big guy would be the dream, but like still it's going to be kind of hard to track all that. And it's like Mug's Magic, I think, can like blow out games. Z's Might is going to be more of like consistently solid. But really what I'm getting at is like both of them actually look kind of high potential, because like, you know, high floor, low ceiling on Z's Might still means like competitive deck in my mind. I think you can build something competitive there. And then Mug's Magic needs help, but like once it gets there, crazy strong sort of effect. And of course, since it's start a game, like this is all just so quick and easy to do that I think you're pretty happy with both of these options. I think this is kind of like 2 viable decks potentially in one for Mugsy here. So I do think this card actually looks quite strong. Moving on to Aya Lotus Kingpin. Aya is back, and she brought some Jade Golems with her. This is a new 6-mana 6/3 legendary for Rogue, and it breaks the rules by making you always go second, which is interesting. If both players have Aya, by the way, I think it goes back to a coin flip, which is hilarious given the coin theme here. But let's just be clear, right? Like going second right now in Hearthstone is historically, I think, the worst it has ever been. You basically lose 10% of your win rate when you go second. Tempo and initiative are king. Being able to direct your attacks, getting those attacks face often sooner than your opponent is currently very, very, very good in this Hearthstone meta. There aren't enough sort of removal or swing cards where playing from behind seems good enough right now. So that is a very big downside on Aya Lotus Kingpin. I don't really think that's going to change either, you know, at least not that rapidly. Sure, there could be some help in the new expansion, but that's probably going to remain true, potentially even get worse. So let's just say right away, that is a major downside on this card. Now, the goal, of course, of that downside is that it gives you a coin always. And as you can see here, Aya interacts with coins. Battlecry, pick an upgraded counterfeit to replace your coins this game. Get 2. Now, that is a Battlecry, not a start of game effect or anything. So that coin you get from going second is going to have to sit in hand until turn 6, basically, if you want it to be an upgraded coin. Now, the upgraded coins are the Grimy coin, gain 1 mana crystal this turn only, so it retains its normal coin effect, but then also deal 2 damage to random enemy minion. The Jade coin, gain 1 mana crystal this turn only, summon a Jade Golem, and the Cabal coin is going to get you a random 1-cost Kazakis potion. Which it's cool here, by the way, to harken back to Mean Streets of Kajazan. That's fun. Grimy coin doesn't really feel like the hand buff stuff, but maybe that was too good or something. They changed it. Who knows? But the other two are pretty cool. These are all interesting, right? Like Grimy coin is the desperation coin, I think, the one you don't normally want to take, but if you're just like dead on board and have to remove their stuff, you could try that. I personally think the Cabal coin is more likely to give you the same kind of output. Like you get removal in the Cabal coin already anyway, because it has some of that ways to address your opponent's board and life gain and, you know, a lot of other neat little fun things. You don't remember all those effects. It's like deal 2 damage to all, gain 4 armor. Well, I mean, that might be the 5-mana version, but I think the 1-mana version is still really strong because we had that old 3-drop that would generate those. So some really good results on the Cabal coin. I think that's like the consistently best one. Like you're just gonna get results where like, yeah, I know something good's gonna happen off these Cabal coins. And then the Jade coin is the like kind of greedy, I'm going late game, I need some bombs, I need some bodies, I'm just gonna get some Jade Golems that become bigger and bigger dudes. I'm not doing the meme. Not gonna do the meme. I've done it 1,000 times. Shout out Day 9, you're great, but I'm not gonna do the meme. I got close. So, you know, you sort of have some choices here, but I don't know if you ever pick Grimy coin. It feels like Cabal coin's the same, but better. You technically could whiff, so maybe sometimes you have to. But anyway, these are all powerful plays, let's be clear, because coins are good cards, right? Coins are just good. You get mana, you love free mana, you love activations and stuff like that. So you got options at least. Now, a couple things, right? Number one, going second, we already clarified, sucks. That's really bad. That could just kill your deck always. Number two is this is all happening after turn 6, basically. Like, sure, you cheated into play early, but you don't want to use coins to do that. So, like, kind of slow to get these payoffs, right? It's sort of slow. Like, yes, it's sort of a 4-mana card because you get the 2 coins right away, but you got to get to 6, and it's like refresh 2, basically. Third is how many coins you're getting to make this worth it. Particularly for like the Jade coin, you need a lot of coins to get the big enough Jades for them to be interesting. If you're only getting like 4 coins, who cares if you get a 4/4 Jade or whatever? That's just not worth the trouble. So how are you generating coins, right? We have a few things. We already saw a card, the new Bribe, that can give you a coin. That makes me think we're probably going to see some other coin generators in this set. So, you know, other ways to get coins. So maybe 2, 3, 4 cards, whatever, that get you some coins could definitely help. Again, though, you're going to be kind of holding those coins until you either draw Aya, which I guess Garona Fabled could help you find Aya a lot more consistently. But it's still you either draw Aya or, you know, play Aya, of course. You also just got to have that moment to player. Another big way to get coins is, you know, Time Admiral Hooktail, but like, boy, this card's not good, right? You don't want to spend 5 mana to eventually kill the 0/8 chest, which I guess you could use the Bribe, but now you're talking about an 8 mana play just to get all these coins. And like, yes, they do give you that immediate reload, and like, but you also have hand size concerns there too. So it's just like a lot of moving pieces to get all these coins lined up, right? I think the cards that get you coins have to be so strong, basically, to make Aya good. I don't know if those cards could exist, because you can't have really strong cards just giving you coins, because that would just be too generically good, and you may not even need the Aya again. You just like have all this free mana, and that's just way better for you anyway, because we also have like Gadgets and Auctioneer stuff. So there's like Miracle Road routes. We have Vanessa already, which kind of felt busted yesterday. Like, that's really good with coins. It's almost like they can't make all those cards too good, because they would break everything else more than they would break Aya, which makes me think Aya kind of has to be undertuned a little bit, lest the game just blows out, because she needs all that help and you can't print all that help. There's this sort of dilemma happening here where I don't see how all this can line up without just completely ripping the game open. And then it's still all on that notice of like, you always go second sucks. That's really going to hurt you. So there's two sides of me here with this card. There's some part of me that thinks like, hey, somebody's gonna figure this out and just blow this open, and like good players gonna use all this mana and just do crazy things, and like just, you know, the game's just gonna end instantly when Aya comes down. The other side of me is like, this is just too many downsides stacked up, too many problems to overcome building this deck and getting all this to line up. Currently, you know, as a bad player, the like, this isn't gonna work side of me is more confident. like I have a hard time envisioning it coming together, so that's probably where I'm going to land on my score with Aya. But I will say I think there's like a 5% chance this is broken, and then maybe a 95% chance it's kind of bad. So take that as you will. And then our final card here is Zuramat's Prison, a new 5-mana neutral location, 3 durability. Choose a card to discard to summon a 5/5 taunt. Death Rattle, free Zuramat, who plays 1 each turn. You can see Zuramat here is an 8-mana 8/8. At the end of your turn, play a card discarded by Zuramat's Prison. Which, this is cool. I mean, I like that this is neutral, and like, that's fun. You get a 5/5 taunt immediately when you play Zuramat's Prison. So it's not this like disaster on board for tempo. Not good either. You're not excited to get a 5/5 out immediately, but you know, as soon as turn 7 rolls around, or if it's all coin stuff, turn 6, you know, another free 5/5 chipping in later is pretty nice. And then eventually on the final hit, you get a 5/5 and an 8/8, and you get to replay one of your discarded cards, which if that's a minion, it's just going to kind of throw the minion on board, right? We know from things like tests in the past, it's not going to work with battle cries. It's just going to summon the stats, or if it's a spell, it's going to randomly target that spell as well. But there might be some just like generically great things that just work, you know, discard a Tyrion, summon a Tyrion, you're happy, right? It doesn't need to be anything nuts. Like that's still a lot. Like you could have a turn, right, where you end up on turn I guess 9 or 8 depending on coins or whatever, where you know, if you're a paladin, I don't know if that's the angle, you get the idea. It's like you have a 5/5 and 8/8 and a Tyrion, right? Like not bad. And then if Zuramat lives, you could even get future upside later. You know, that's more likely than it used to be, perhaps. I think there are worlds where Zermatt could live multiple turns. You should probably assume you're going to get one turn out of your Zermatt often. So then it's just a question of like decks that can afford to discard stuff potentially, or have really good targets for Zermatt. But then also remember, Zermatt's gonna have 3 cards in the pool, so like if you're trying to hit the Tyrion thing, you got to hit a 1 out of 3 on the Tyrion. You got to have 2 other things in the pool as well, and your Zermatt might die before it gets to the Tyrion. So what are the other 2 cards that you've discarded? How do you build a deck that kind of satisfies across that? You know, a big taunt warrior with like Tortola, you may not hit the Tortola, but maybe you have an Ultrasaur and you summon an Ultrasaur, right? Like that wouldn't be a taunt, but you get the idea. There's options there and ways to think about this. But I think ultimately it is going to take a deck that's super defensive, super late game oriented, because all of this sort of points in that direction. It takes a long time to get Zermatt's value. I don't think there are currently any good ways to destroy the location early. There is that like destroy a location card, but it's specifically enemy locations. And then like Warlock used to have some stuff where you could destroy a location or take a durability off anyway, but I think that has since rotated in standard format. Warrior, I think that one card is siphoning growth. Yeah, destroy friendly minion, not locations, right? So I don't think you have any ways to activate this early right now. Certainly something could come along, which could definitely help, right? If you could just terminate this location immediately and get your Zermatt right away, that would be an insane tempo swing. A 5/5 and 8/8 and a card would be great, but really you're gonna have to wait a while. The 3 durability on this is actually kind of punishing in that regard. So a deck that has some life gain, some survivability is going to need that. But then those decks also value those cards in hand, and there's a good chance Zermatt actually just straight up loses you 2 cards, right? Probably just throws away 2 cards for you, and that's really tough. So then the final angle to talk about, of course, is discard synergies, which you're normally thinking about Warlock for discard synergies, but as you guys have seen me try over the last expansion to make discard Warlock work a couple times, I think actually separately with Maloriak and more, I just don't think that's anywhere close to coming together. I've talked about how that needs like maybe 3 to 4 more support cards for that deck to feel like a cohesive, complete thing. This is not a support card at all. Like this is another enabler. Like it is kind of cool with Maloriak in a weird way. I don't know if there's like a discard pile in Hearthstone where like if I discard a card with Zermatt's Prison and it gets immediately summoned by Maloriak, and I can pull up Maloriak. Well, Maloriak actually does say summon a copy of it. So actually this would work even with a discard pile. But you could see a world or a scenario maybe where like it's not in the discard pile for Zermatt to grab. Like if we look at, I don't know, like if we go to Wild and look at Silverware Golem, for instance, right? It says if you discard this minion, summon it. It's like, is it still there for Zermatt to reference? Like, can he create a copy of it, or does it have to be? Like in Marvel Snap, for instance, this would not work. Once it would never actually go into the discard pile because the card got summoned into play instead of going to the discard pile, which means Zermatt would not be able to reference it in the future. This would not work in Marvel Snap. I think it might work in Hearthstone. I don't know that we don't think we've had any examples of stuff like that too often. I think usually Hearthstone's like it just kind of works. Because we don't have like a referenceable discard pile or graveyard or whatever in Hearthstone so much. So hopefully it would work. But anyway, that's not a problem for right now because we're just not even close to that, right? I think we're super far off from that. But, you know, expansion 2 comes along and gives some discard help. Like, sure, I think Zermatt's makes a lot of sense if you have some great discard payoffs. And maybe in Wild format too, this seems like it could be too slow for discard Warlock because like they just wouldn't care to get to turn 9 or whatever, like we talked about, to do all this. But who knows, maybe a greedier version comes along. What I'm getting at the end of the day is I actually think this card's okay, because I do think some greedier decks might be able to make it work. I'm just worried about giving up sort of 3 cards in hand for just some 5/5s. Zermatt himself, like, I'm thinking about, there's like some Dios stuff you could do too, you know, because you kind of get him for free on that final turn. It wouldn't be too hard to play Dios with him, which gives you both like 2 Zermatts, because the death rattle on Zermatt's Prison could trigger off Dios twice. and then each Zuramat gets to go off. That's actually another question on the discard pile. Would they each be able to pull 2 cards, or would it run out after all 3 had been pulled? Another interesting question there. So I could see like a Greedy Warrior deck doing some kind of, you know, Dios Zuramat combo or something where you don't have to worry about losing all that value because you're going to get them all back anyway. Some possibilities with this one. I think that sounds kind of fringe and kind of off meta more than a really powerful game defining sort of thing, but it's actually not a card I want to write off completely. I think there's some potential here. So all that said, let's go ahead and rate these cards from 1 to 5 stars. Mugsy is a 4-star card. Aya Lotus Kingpin is a 2-star card. Zuramat's Prison is a 3-star card. And there you go, 3 legendaries. I feel like it's a pretty long video anyway. Lots to talk about with each of these. Like, man, so many interesting designs and implications. This set actually has some really interesting designs, actually, man. Like, some of these do really feel like they could be marquee legendaries, but they're just like, we just keep getting them, you know? Man, they went hard on this set, I think, engineering-wise and design-wise. But anyway, share your thoughts on these cards down below. What is busted? What is bad? Let me know. Is Aya just too bad with that you always go second sort of thing? Or can you actually make it work with all that extra mana? I'm curious to hear your thoughts because I'm kind of torn on that one. But thanks as always for watching, and until next time, game on.